I'm about to share with you is one of the oldest known versions of Genesis. Would you like to know the origins of the gods, the Bible, religion, life as you know it? How did we get here? What is our real history? Or maybe what is our real history is actually a better question to ask because we don't really know. One thing that I do find fascinating is this ancient cuneiform tablet that has been translated via several scholars, not just from Oxford University, but other locations. And I'm going to read to you the Oxford translation here in just a moment. You can see from the British Museum the actual tablet that is thousands of years older than the Hebrew version of Genesis, or the Greek version of Genesis, or the King James version of Genesis. The authorized version, that is. It's got to be authorized. It's got to be authorized. But I digress. I divagate. Enki. What does Enki mean? Well, that's Lord of the Earth. And what does Ninmah mean? Well, that's the mother goddess of earth and fertility. That's Enki's wife. And Enki and Ninmah is an absolutely fascinating Genesis story. And I feel that after reading this several times, each time I read it, I get a whole new perception and perspective towards Enki and Ninmah, at least what Enki was like at a certain point. Now, whether or not Enki was taken over by the Archon interface, the serpent Archons that Thoth discusses, Thoth, in the Emerald Tablets, Tablet 8 specifically, that hide in the shadows, that come out during blood rituals and sacrifices and work through men that are put in high places and high councils. What does that sound like? Well, you can see the credits. I'm going to read Enki and Ninmah to you. Here we go. In those days, in the days when heaven and earth were created, in those nights, in the nights when heaven and earth were created, in those years, in the years when the fates were determined, when the Anuna gods were born, when the goddesses were taken in marriage, when the goddesses were distributed in heaven and earth, when the goddesses became pregnant and gave birth, when the gods were obliged, their food, dining halls, the senior gods oversaw the work, while the minor gods were bearing the toil. The gods were digging the canals and piling up the silt in Harali. The gods, crushing the clay, began complaining about this life. Now let's take a time out for a second. I looked up Harali, and that could be some